Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. This series I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host, That Darn Kitty.
Dorkus and I are sharing our experience reading The Way of Kings for the first time. Each episode we will summarize what we read and discuss the experience along the way.
This is Storming the Archives, The Way of Kings, and today we discuss chapters 20 and 21.
20 and 21!
Chapter 20. Scarlet, 7 years ago. A young girl lays dying after a fall. Kaladin repeats the mantra, "I can save her," as he works desperately to help the girl. He is able to cauterize the wound to the leg, but the damage is too severe. The young girl dies. Her father, Harl, clutches the corpse, weeping. An hour later, Kaladin is still shaken from his failure. Lirin explains that he performed admirably. Men who have practiced for hours froze in similar situations where Kaladin did not. Kaladin tells his father he does not want to be a surgeon. Lirin explains that Kaladin did all he could for the girl. He has to learn when to care and when to let go, that one day he'd grow calluses. Kaladin wonders to himself whether or not that's actually a good thing. Chapter 21. Why Men Lie. Kaladin does not want to wake up. If he wakes up, the day would be real. He curses Hav in his mind for always being able to boot him out of his bunk, even now, then forces himself to his feet. Many of the crew members were watching him to see if he'd get up. Kaladin looks over the 3 injured men they brought back. Leighton is alive, though his wounds are dire. He needs antiseptic. Haber smiles and thanks Kaladin for saving him. He won't be able to walk for weeks. Kaladin promises to bring food. Haber's gratitude brings comfort to Kaladin. Dabid is despondent and unresponsive. Kaladin deems it to be battle shock and assures Haber that it'll wear off. Kaladin checks his own wound, worried about infection. He curses the apothecary, but immediately regrets it. He should be cursing Sadius, not the apothecary. He stretches, then grabs the plank so he can exercise. No one joins him. He can't go as long or as rough as he did the other day. Syl comments that the group is talking about him. Then she asks what madness is. Then she asks why men lie. When Kaladin responds that all men lie, Syl wonders if that makes all men a little mad. Then she realizes that since everyone lies, the person who doesn't lie would be the one everyone considers mad. Syl says that everyone claims Dalinar never lies, but Kaladin shuts the idea down. He believes all Light Eyes are corrupt, then curses Amaram. Syl comments that she doesn't think men were always this way, but she cuts herself off. She seems to recall men saying there was a time with no lies. Kaladin talks about the times of the heraldic epochs when men were bound by honor, reflecting that men remember the good times and the bad, but forget that most times are neither. They just are. Kaladin nihilistically lists the failure of the Heralds, the Knights Radiant, and the Epoch Kingdoms, claiming you can't trust anyone with power. You let the Light Eyes have it, then stay far away from them. Rock and Teft are chatting and glancing over at Kaladin when Gaz approaches. Lamaril is aware of the injured bridgemen and took the issue up with Sadius. Kaladin is allowed to keep the crew members, but they're not to be paid or fed. Kaladin insults Sadius, which shocks Gaz, who wanders off. Kaladin asks the bridgemen to contribute their food and pay to the injured bridgemen. Moash laughs, claiming he'd rather die out on the plains. Rock is the only person to offer food, but he only offers it to Haber. Rock notes that there is something strange about Kaladin, that everyone sees it. Kaladin writes it off as luck, but Rock points out the Mafaliki that follows him around, then bows reverently to Syl. Both Syl and Kaladin are shocked. Rock calls himself Ala'i Iku, then shrugs off their questions. Rock explains that Bridge 4 lost the least amount of men in the last bridge run. Kaladin turns his attention to figuring out how to feed the rest of the men. He and Rock head out to find Gaz. The Bridge 3 leader scowls at Kaladin. Kaladin realizes the other bridge crews wanted Bridge 4 to be the unlucky crew so that they had someone to look down upon. Kaladin asks if anyone is on stone gathering detail today. Gaz complains that Bridge 3 is claiming to be too weak to handle it and that he'd be chewed out for not meeting quota. Kaladin offers Bridge 4 for the task. Gaz is confused. He thought Kaladin wouldn't react well to being treated differently. Kaladin promises to tell his crew it was his idea, so Gaz doesn't have to hear any complaints, so Gaz agrees. Rock notes the bridge crew will be upset, but Kaladin believes they'll get over it. Kaladin wants to get outside of the war camp. The two approach Teft. Teft immediately refuses to share his food, but Kaladin isn't after food. He asks for his loyalty and allegiance. Teft claims he has repeatedly betrayed his allegiances. Kaladin notes that Teft still has a will to live, just like Kaladin realized he had when he was standing over the honor chasm. As Teft agrees, Kaladin notes Rock counts himself among the small group as well. Rock reveals his real name, Numuhuku Makiaki Ayalunamor. Kaladin intends to gather reeds outside of the war camp while the bridge crew gathers rocks. Chapter 20 was very short, so Kitta and I both decided to do a twofer.
Twofer!
Excellent. No epigraph for the 7 years ago chapter of 20.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I guess we now know where the little girl that was referenced in earlier chapters came from, yeah?
Yeah, it could be. Could be this one, could be another. We don't know.
Oh, I have to offer a quick
But
correction, by the way. I confused Kalak and Talinel in the last chapter, by the way. Talinel's the one that died, not Kalak.
Okay.
Sorry, back to little girl. What were you saying, Kitte?
It could be that that's the first. It makes sense that would be the one that sticks with him because it's the first time he loses someone. And I really like that we've done these two chapters together because it's got the idea of when to care and when to let go that's given to us in chapter 20, and then we have Kaladin now grown up and he hasn't grown these calluses. Actually, he just has to try and deal with losing people. He's not become used to losing people. He doesn't want to lose people. It's not become easier. We've already heard him say so.
Right. He's a person who feels things very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of feeling things very deeply, in chapter 20, he says that he doesn't want to be a doctor anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Liren basically parents him and says you'll grow calluses. And he sort of, I don't want to say that he brushes away the possibility of him not being a doctor, but he kind of doesn't accept that. Now, a part of me is reading this thinking this is reasonably good parenting in the sense that Kaladin is feeling down right now. This may have been his very first loss, and you don't want your child to give up on something just because it gets hard. So there's some good elements here. I also have to keep in mind that we're getting this all filtered through Kaladin's POV, and we know that he suffers from depression, but I am wondering if Liren crosses the line into abusive at some point. He doesn't get to go out and play. He doesn't get to have friends. Kaladin feels as if he's forced to study 24/7 for something that he doesn't even really seem to like all that much, although he certainly takes advantage of the knowledge. What do you think of this?
I do think he has an affinity and he is good with being a surgeon and he cares. He wants to save people. So I don't think it's like an abusive thing that he is being forced into caring, into wanting to be a surgeon that way. But I do understand what you mean by his father is quite forceful. It's not even an option that he's not going to be a surgeon. That's just the way it's going to be. So I agree with you on that, but I do also think that Kaladin is good at being a surgeon, and he does it naturally. You see, he lands up using that skill anyway. He doesn't need to, but he still leans into it because he knows it will help people. When it comes to the parenting part of this, yeah, we do need Kaladin to realize that he did something good, and we do need him to start to realize that unfortunately, when you are a surgeon, when you are someone who's trying to save anyone, you can't save everyone. That is going to be a disappointment that you're going to you're going to have to deal with. But the way that his father deals with it, I don't think I agree with. It's not about, because the way he phrases it is, you've got to choose when to care and when to let go. That means, that sounds like him saying you got to choose when not to care. You don't care, so you let go and stop caring. And I don't think that that's possible when you're someone as emotional as Kaladin. It's actually, that makes me think of Liren as, okay, he's kind of psychopathic in that way. He's able to just go, nah, okay, there's nothing I can do about it, and move on. Whereas, like, with other people that are emotional, like Kaladin, you have to come to some sort of, you have to take that pain and accept it and then move on, not be pained at all. I feel like Liren has
Yeah.
that expectation of Kaladin, and I don't think he's capable of that. So he has his own way of dealing with pain,
Yeah.
which he's still coming to terms with at 20. Yeah.
Yeah. And doctors aren't necessarily therapists. All therapists are
Mm-hmm.
doctors, but not all doctors are therapists. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Especially in, I've said repeatedly, yes, I know that this isn't medieval fantasy, this is sci-fi
Mm-hmm.
fantasy, but generally speaking, therapy is a relatively new field of study. Is that fair to say? Like when compared
Yeah.
against, 1700s, 1600s, medieval antiquity, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's not entirely unreasonable in this world, as we are learning about it, to presume that Liren might not necessarily be clued into the mental illnesses.
Look, we did have, I think we've had philosophy for a very long time, but we've never. I agree with you. It is quite a new thing to have it, think of it as an illness. Think of mental issues as illnesses, as something that needs to be treated, as opposed to just, oh, I had that thought, let's move on, kind of thing. So I'm in agreement with you. It's there's no such thing as mental illness in this world. There is madness. Okay, that is the theme we're going to start to get to,
Yes.
which I enjoyed in the next chapter, and also, actually, it even does relate to the next chapter, because Kaladin has a certain reaction that we think, actually, us two think is kind of normal, and then his dad is telling him that that's actually not normal, that, you know what, you can get over it, you'll develop calluses and you'll be fine. And he's got a certain way that's actually what sanity looks like as a surgeon, whereas that's not really what Kaladin's experience is. Is it madness? Is his dad mad? Interesting. Love it.
Indeed. Is there anything else to say about 20 then for the moment?
Just really sad. And also, just something that just one more thing. I don't think I commented on it before. It's just, actually, Kaladin is not, like, when he was speaking to the apothecary and all of that, he was never trained. He never went to that city to
That's
go and
true.
be trained. He actually landed up never going. He's only been trained by his father. So the training he did receive has been amazing. But imagine if he had gone
Yeah,
and gotten full training.
could have
Yeah.
been great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then, 21. We get the
Mm-hmm.
epigraph.
Yes.
One need only look at the aftermath of his brief visit to Cell to see proof of what I say.
This is a continuation of the comments of the previous guy. He's describing him. He will not take inaction. He will not be inactive. I think his name is. Hold on.
Raise?
Yeah. Yeah, Raise. He's talking about Raise will not be similarly inhibited. And then the next comment is about, I think he is still talking about Raise. Raise's visit to Sal obviously had bad consequences. He's not a pacifist. And Sal, I suppose, is a planet,
Well,
a system. I don't know.
yes, it's important that you bring this up. You and I are semi-familiar with the Celish system
Mm-hmm.
through 1.5 avenues. We know that when we did our Emperor's Soul read through, we didn't read the post notes or the information
Mm-hmm.
about the system beforehand, but we
Mm-hmm.
do know that the Emperor's Soul takes place in the Salish system. And I think it was mentioned during the Elantris Part 1 live stream that that is in that system as well.
Yeah. But
So,
that's as far as we know. We don't really know
correct.
anything. Yeah, it's just that sort of
Cosmere
vague
stuff.
connection. Yeah, that's what in my brain it goes vague Cosmere stuff, cool, and we'll confirm later, kind of thing. Like I don't know how, but eventually something. You know my feelings on it.
Yeah, we'll get to all of that when we get to it. And we thank you all for the no spoilers stuff. But you've heard me thank you for that 1,000 times. And I will continue to
Eternal
thank you a
gratefulness.
thousand more. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
We get more Kaladin hating Light Eyes in this. It's that hatred is really growing because we get a point where Syl asks about why men lie, and Kaladin Syl brings up Dalinar as someone who doesn't lie, and
Hmm.
Kaladin basically says, "Nope, he lies too. They all lie. They're all terrible."
Hmm. And he already is, yeah, earlier on in the chapter he's focused on Sadius. Like I must blame everything on Sadius, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he keeps that in mind, and then we get the real prejudice coming
Yeah,
in with Dalinar because he knows nothing about Dalinar, and he knows that he is being prejudiced. He does even say like he
curse you,
damns
Amaram.
Amaram.
You made me this way.
Yeah, yeah, because you've made me not trust Light Eyes. You've Amaram, I suppose, it's what gave him this disillusionment because we saw as a younger kid, Light Eyes were good people and honorable and all of that. Though he did have some sort of disillusionment. We know that, so he's aware of it, but that doesn't mean he's not gonna he's gonna stop. He's like, yeah, I still hate him. Yeah, he doesn't want to believe Dalinar is as good as they say.
Yeah, but I am excited for the future Dalinar Kaladin conflict that arises from this because, from what I can tell with
Hmm.
Dalinar, he seems to genuinely be that good.
Yeah, exactly. But then, speaking of which, Dalinar and Madness is quite a good match of themes and issues
Mm.
because people are thinking of Dalinar as mad. And we're also talking about men that, okay, so why men lie. And it's in considering what Syl says, she's like, well, Dalinar doesn't lie. And then she goes on to have that thought about, well, if a man doesn't lie when everybody else does, that makes him mad. And that's such a beautiful connection to what's happening with Dalinar. Dalinar is considered mad. It's nice that nice. It's beautiful that it all relates without these characters having any interaction with each other
Yeah.
yet.
So far, this
Mm.
book, Way of Kings, really is leagues above Elantris, what we've read of it so far.
Mhm.
And even Mistborn, I would say. This book
Mhm.
exceeds Mistborn in terms of writing style, talent, prose, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just the way it's woven is it's beautiful. Doesn't mean that I don't love the others. I really do. I'm enjoying them both. But this, I can understand why people call it his magnum opus.
Yeah. When Syl cuts herself off, and let me take a quick look for that specific moment. I don't think men were always this way, she said absently, getting a far off look in her face. Kaladin waited for her to continue, but she didn't. Go yada yada yada. Syl, he finally prompted, were you going to say something? It seems I've heard men talk about times when there were no lies. Does she have memories from the epochs? Because where would she have heard men talk about times when there were no lies? Dalinar seems to be the only one thinking about that kind of stuff right now. The Bridgemen probably don't care. They're probably too
Mm.
despondent. And I can't imagine your average soldier in Sadius's camp of all places talking about the nature of men who lie.
She look, there's I see what you mean. There is the possibility that she has ancient memory, but then there's also the possibility that she has memory of being around more.
The almighty voice Dalinar's hearing.
Or no, not even that. It's more just about Light Eyes and what like rulers and things like that might have been talking about, philosophers, that sort of thing. She does say she has memories about people talking about times there were no lies. She doesn't say I remember a time where there was no lies. She
I
just remembers that there is a conversation. So that's not specifically that she was in the epochs.
Okay, yes, I hear what you're saying, but I want to explore this idea that I semi interrupted you with. We know that the voice that Dalinar is hearing regularly talks to Dalinar about times when men do not lie and speaks in a
Mm-hmm.
melancholic manner
Mm-hmm.
regarding the subject. I think there might
Mm-hmm.
be something to this idea that Syl is hearing this person. And this makes me wonder about the nature of Spren in general and where they come from. And I'm
Mm.
wondering if this voice that's speaking to Dalinar is in the Fey realm, so to speak, or some sort of
Mm-hmm.
ethereal plane that the Spren are from. Is the voice a Spren?
The all powerful Spren. No, I'm more for that theory. That makes more sense to me than just her having ancient memory. It's more like she just is aware of some other greater power or some other entity speaking of such things. So I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Gaz, the Gaz Kaladin relationship this chapter was, I found to be nice. Gaz seems a bit more chill now, which, I hope that they can come to a reasonable working relationship. I would have
Yeah,
thought
they're
he'd hate the idea of being sent to Kaladin, but yeah.
yeah, he's gotten over it kind of thing. They've kind of settled into a certain way. They have a relationship now. Maybe he would have been irritated being sent to Kaladin, but at the same time he knows that he's supposed to be delivering news that's supposed to upset Kaladin, so maybe that's a little bit of a solve for him. He's like, well, at least I'm gonna be pissing him off. So that might have helped him. But I think he's got this like weird begrudging respect for Kaladin in a way. It's some sort of wary, standoffish respect. Not like, oh, really, this is a great guy. I really like him. It's more like, okay, this is a dangerous dog. I might have to respect his space, and
Yeah.
not mess around with him.
And
And also, I love that Rock is next to him, and Rock is massive apparently, so
yeah.
that also helps. We got a bit of a gang going.
Rock, I think you mean Numu Hukumaki Aki Aya Luna More.
Yes, that.
Go ahead,
I
Kite,
feel like that
say it.
is no thanks, Numu. I'll call him Numu. He that makes me think of, I suppose, like a Samoan person. That's
Yes.
how I view him. Yeah,
Same.
considering the way that the language is. So, and he's got, hey, speaking of him, he's some sort of spiritual man thingy majiggy
Yes, he can
that he can
see
see
Syl.
Syl. I love him, and you know what? That makes me think he's gonna die somewhere in this book. I'm like,
Definitely.
he's not gonna last. I'm like, oh no, I love him too much. He's not gonna last. There's so many more books, and he's not gonna be in them, is he? Oh, but I'll enjoy him while I can. I love him.
Yeah, he's really enjoyable. I'm so mad he
Hmm.
like cut himself off over the Mafaliki Syl thing, because
Hmm.
damn it, that's the info. Sanderson knows that's what we want to know, so he's like, no, I'm not going to tell you now.
He's like, here's a little sprinkle, and you don't know.
Yeah,
Always with the mysteries. Good, thanks.
yeah,
Airsick. I like that.
yeah.
Airsick.
Airsick
The airsick
lowlanders.
lowlander. Yeah.
So Teft outright says that he has betrayed everyone he's ever offered his allegiance to, which
Hmm.
begs two questions. One, will Teft betray Kaladin? And two, given the title of the chapter as Why Men Lie, is he lying in this chapter? Who in this chapter is lying? Someone's lying somewhere.
Hmm. At least one person is. Hmm.
Yes. Hobber. It was
Well,
Hobber. I'm kidding.
but then no, just thinking like he's using a bit of deception. Kaladin is using a bit of deception because we do
It's
find out
true.
why he wants to leave the camp. So there's that's the surface level one is that he's using this to obviously, presumably, go and get that sap, which is antiseptic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's going to use it
Or
or
for
sell it.
grain. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because yeah, they need food, but he needs spheres. Either way, it's interesting. Why men lie? What is there something Kaladin lies about?
He could be
Um,
lying to himself about hating all light eyes, maybe?
that's what I'm kind of thinking, is that he's letting that sit with him. That could be it. But then also, just why men lie is because it's just they do, and so that's the message we're supposed to be just taking, is that they do because they are men, because they are humans. And then for me, it's like lying is sanity because it's normal. Just with Syl, what Syl, the whole Syl's whole discussion. I love Syl. Oh my goodness, just all of it. And also, like, we actually were just talking about Sanderson writing certain theme, well, addressing certain themes of government and power and things like that. And I also liked one of the conversations that one of the comments that Syl had. She's like, well, what do you do then? You just don't have leaders? Because it's like, okay, if we have leaders, then they get corrupt. So what now? Do you just not have leaders? What are you supposed to do? That's the lie. That could be the lie that Kaladin is telling himself, because he goes, you give power to the Lighthouses and then you stay far away from them. It's like, yeah, that's what you are lying to yourself about. You pretending that that's what you want. So that seems more congruent than him lying to himself about how much he hates the Lighthouses. It's more like why he lies to himself.
Well said.
Why he thinks that about the Lighthouses. Yeah. So we found it. I think we found the lie.
Yay.
Thanks, Syl. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. Anything else to say about this chapter?
I just love the working around the fact that he's just trying so hard to keep going. And I like that the way that he is related with Teft, the way he relates to Teft through this. Listen, are you choosing to live or choosing to die? Make the choice
Oh
now.
yeah, that was a
Cool.
good, nice
Yeah,
bit.
it's a very good one. One of just the writing things that I enjoyed was staring despondently at this, staring despondently at that, staring despondent. He used staring despondently like 3 times in a certain thing, and then when Teft talks to Kaladin, he says, "Oh well, it's better than having a staring contest with mortality." So I enjoyed all of that writing style stuff. Thank you. Mwah.
Yes, very well done.
Mhm.
All right, well, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week,
See you next time.
and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks,
Okay,
bye.
thanks, bye.